So now let's talk about account attributes in section 4. Now, account attributes add more details that the GL accounts themselves cover. Think of this as really like an attribute, or think of this as an adjective used to describe an account, and it's used for financial reporting purposes. So this section has two parts. One is the attribute definition report, and the next is the attribute table. You'll see here the attribute definition report shows the various names of the attributes, and then what their definition is, a short name, which will be used in various crosswalk tables, and then it'll give you the values, so domain. For example, anticipated indicator, or called anticipated, has a value of yes or no. And then you'll have the attribute table. Now this is going to go over each USSGL, and it'll show all the various attributes that it could have. All right, let's see it then in the USSGL. So we'll see your section 4, and I always like showing the title, cover page, and we'll see the definition report. And now we'll start getting into the parts where there's PDF or Excel. It really depends what you're looking for. For our purposes, we're going to look at the PDF, but if you're doing your day-to-day work, you might find Excel's more useful. So you'll see the cover page, all right, gives us the definitions of what the section is. Then we'll go into the actual attribute definition report. You'll see here various different attributes. You'll see the various definitions and the domains. Then we'll go to the actual attribute table. It's pretty large, so you might have to zoom out to see everything, but it covers every single GL account from 1010, 0, all the way down to the last account, which is 840. These attributes are very important when it comes down to financial reporting, as it'll help determine which line of a financial statement they're reported on. All right. Now let's get into the next section, which is the crosswalks to our standard external reports. So if you're not familiar with the federal external financial reports, I'll run them down for you. You have your balance sheet, your statement of net cost, your statement of changes in net position, your statement in custodial activity, your statement of budgetary resources, and then you'll have your SF 133 and Schedule P. So you'll see here this USSGL in the balance sheet. It names out the lines, the GL accounts, and some of the attributes that are relevant for each one. Same thing with the statement of net cost. Kind of similar, but different. Different attributes, different lines. Then you have your statement of changes in net position. Same thing here. Then you have your statement of budgetary resources. Similar. Custodial activity. Very similar. And then you'll have your Schedule P and SF 133. So let's see how to find these in real life. Okay, you'll see here, we'll just scroll down. We have the crosswalks to standard external reports. I'll click the link. And once again, for these crosswalks, we'll get two versions. One's PDF and one's Excel. For our purposes, we'll click on PDF. But if you're actually doing research, I think you're going to be using the Excel. So here's our crosswalk cover page. Great stuff. Then you'll see our balance sheet, and you'll be able to scroll down and see every line, the various sections. You see these subsections, and even when the total intragovernmental assets, for example, it tells you if it's a calculated line, how to calculate it. Scroll all the way down. Now you have your net cost. So you'll scroll here, you'll see how you go from your gross cost to less your earned revenue. Very useful. Then you have your statement of changes in net position. It's following the same very similar format. One thing to note throughout these financial statements is your GL account could be on here multiple times in different lines. And that's really going to come down to your attributes, what's actually being reported. Is it an exchange, non-exchange? custodial, non-custodial. So you could have a line that reports the same, let's say, expense. One's exchanged, one's not exchanged. So it's just important to know. Same thing with statement of custodial activity. You'll be able to see here all the various GL accounts roll up to it. The statement of budgetary resources. This one's interesting because it is only budgetary accounts. As I mentioned before, it is a self-balancing section for the 400,000 section, and that's the statement of budgetary resources, which is your budgetary resources should equal your status of budgetary resources. And then you have your SF 133, which is your budget execution report, and your Schedule P. So here you go. Similar aspect, GL accounts, amounts, all the attributes that are going to depend, all the attributes that are going to drive financial reporting listed here. All right, now it's time for our last knowledge check. Sarah's meeting a colleague and goes, hey, we just collected a refund of a prepayment from a commercial vendor that was obligated earlier this fiscal year. Could you tell me how that will affect our balance sheet? Sarah goes, sure. And it sounds like the crosswalks of the USSGL are in my future. So here's our challenge. Using the following transaction, what are the lines on the balance sheet that are going to be affected? So you'll see here we're using transaction code C112. And we have a budgetary entry of a debit to 48,020 and a credit to 46,10. And our proprietary entries is 10,10 debit and credit to 14,10. Let's figure out which lines of the balance sheet are going to be affected. And before we start, just a reminder, budgetary accounts are not reported on the balance sheet. We're back at the USSGL bulletin. Let's go down and search our crosswalks. So we won't go to the reclassified statements. We will go to the USSGL crosswalks to standard external reports. We're going to see the balance sheet. So let's open this up. Okay, so we have two accounts to look up. The first is 1010. Okay, and we'll see 1010 is just here in line 1 of the balance sheet under assets, intergovernmental assets. Makes sense. And you can see the Fed, non-Fed indicator is G. This is for the general fund. And this is for reporting types unexpired and expired funds. So pretty safe to say we'd be reporting our increase of fund balance with Treasury in line 1. So now let's look for our decrease to 14,10. Okay, so this is advances and prepayments. We'll see it's recorded on line 5 and line 13. So to figure out what the difference is, we can see, okay, the ending balance, you have Fed, non-Fed indicator of F in line 5, Fed, non-Fed indicator of N, which is a non-Fed in line 13. This is a commercial payment, right? A commercial vendor. So I'm going to say it's probably 13, but let's just confirm what this line 5 rolls under. All right, intragovernmental. And what is line 13? It is other than intragovernmental assets. Okay, so I think it's safe to say that since we had a refund from a non-federal vendor, we'd be decreasing line 13. Okay, let's see what the answer is. All right, we have our 1010 balance. Yep, we increased line 1. And then we had our two options, 5 and 13. You can see the difference is the Fed, non-Fed indicator. So this is a refund from a commercial non-Fed vendor. We decrease line 13 balance. So Sarah is able to tell her friend, hey, increase line 1, decrease line 13. That's how we record the transaction. Her colleague's very grateful.